Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry about the lateness. So we had a couple of complications, so we had to fix. You are here with me, Keisha Brooks, live on Kubi TV Network on YouTube. Um, and we're here to pick up where we kind of left off with the Black mothers living with MS. Well, we started on how I got to know that I had some issues with MS. I was diagnosed with MS. Now we're going to move forward with um, living with MS after the diagnosis. So I had all the symptoms, some other symptoms that some people can relate to, some people can't. I suffered with migraines and the numbness and the tingling of the legs and the feet. Sometimes I couldn't feel anything. But with the story that I told the last time, it kind of all came together because I didn't feel my feet when I tripped up or fell down steps, which is one of my problems now. I can't I can't feel any sensation in my right foot. I constantly have toes that are like the way my finger is constantly spastic. Um, and like I said, moving forward with the diagnosis and what I did after. Um, I tried several medications, um, injections, pills, IVs, intravenous, like there were a lot of medications that would, well, I can't say help, but it would kind of, the medications that they give me are not to help and take MS away, but they're to slow down the progression. And also, with these medications, there are side effects. Um, and there are different tests that you have to take to make sure that your body can withstand all these medications. Um, Throughout the years, I have suffered with bad skin. I have suffered with hair loss due to the medication. I have suffered with nausea, constant migraines, even some pain. And everything is just about taking medication after your diagnosis, taking blood, taking tests, taking MRIs. Um, I don't know who out there might be able to relate. I'm allergic to the contrast, um, but the contrast is really needed with an MRI to find the activity in the brain, in the myelin sheath of the brain. Um, so that contrast, when you take the MRIs, that contrast kind of glows. So it makes the pictures with the MRI, it makes it pop to find out where the problem areas are. Um, Again, so now let's go back to in my life with the diagnosis, being so young. And I don't know about anyone else, but 17, 18, um, you're barely legal or legal in some places to drink. Um, you can barely drive in some places. But knowing that I had MS, I did all of the above. I went out, I had fun, I partied with my friends, I traveled just a little bit, because I felt that in that stage of my life, knowing that I had MS and being so young, um, you know, the different doctors, a lot of them, they say, well, the MS is kind of, um, well, in the long run, this is going to happen. Um, I've even had one or two doctors tell me that maybe by the age of 25, I'd be bedbound, wheelchair bound. Um, but, through the support of my friends and my family, and I have a wonderful support system, I have, I feel like I have been happy enough to know and happy enough to feel how my body is going to react to certain things. Not to say that I know why I have MS. I don't think anyone knows why they get an MS. Um, but I have moved forward in my life and I haven't gotten stuck with the what if part of it. I just lived my life the way I wanted to live my life. Um, I had the doctors tell me that you're not supposed to have children because the labor alone puts a lot of stress on your body. And we do know that MS is something that is very active when your body or your mind it's very stressed. Um, and I was lucky enough, I was spared enough to have two children. Um, Wonderful children. One is an older teenager, 19, the other is a younger teenager, 14. So I've been blessed to have my own family. Um, but like I said, MS is not something that I let control my life. I had some moments, whereas um, that's why I traveled. Whereas I traveled so much and I went out and I lived my life the way I wanted to, unapologetically, um, because a part of my mind, being so young, listening to some doctors, that kind of sits on your brain. Well, my goodness, suppose at 25 I am bedbound. I am wheelchair bound. Um, those things are rampant thoughts. I think anyone, besides people with MS, I think anyone with any kind of disease, um, whether it be cancer, whether it be lupus, like whether it it's something that changes your life. So anyone going through something like that, something so problematic in your life, um, it can weigh on your mind. And it definitely weighed on my mind because when I had my first child, it was whether multiple sclerosis was hereditary or not. Um, and can you pass it down to your baby? Um, when I have this baby, what's going to happen to me physically? Am I going to be able to care for this baby? So it's a lot of questions that you ask yourself that sometimes it can be two ways. It can turn you into a fighter or it can turn you into someone that is completely defeated. I leaned more to the fighter. Um, they are they have some things with the multiple sclerosis, the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Like I said, I had some resources for you guys last time. If you are in a position where multiple sclerosis, you've just been diagnosed, or you've been diagnosed for a very long time, but you have those feelings that you need some help, or you need someone just to talk to. um, I have one of my resources here, the National MS Society. They can be contacted at 1-800-344-4867. I opt with them first because they are all over. I have contacted them just to simply, even if it's to ask questions about a medication, or questions about uh, schooling, because when I was diagnosed so young, I was in school and I had to abruptly stop. Um, and in the beginning, if I had them in the beginning, I would have continued in school, because they would have found different ways for me to succeed, even with MS. Um, Again, when you're diagnosed with MS, it is not a death wish. It's not the end of days. Um, you just have to put your mindset focus on something that you want to do. Like, my focus are my children. My focus is my family. Um, and I have had some hard times. Um, when I was in New York and I was taking the train back and forth, I knew once I had my second exacerbation that I wasn't, and I shouldn't be on the train by myself. I shouldn't be trying to get somewhere knowing that I get fatigued, knowing that my body gets weak, knowing that I have these migraines. I shouldn't be in the middle of the city in the train by myself. And some people, they would rather be by themselves. Sometimes, and in the beginning, I rather be by myself, because I always thought that I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to. I didn't want to have my illness plague someone else that was perfectly healthy. I didn't want to be married. For a while, I did not even want to have children, because I did not want my family members to go through what I'm going through, because it's not their disease, yes, but if they love you, and my family loves me and you love them, in the beginning, it's just something hard to go through. Um, and I, of course, I'm a little strong-willed, and I can be a little bossy. I own that. I can be bossy. And with MS, like I said, or with any disease, you tend to be a little crabby, because you want to explain yourself. Sometimes you don't come off as the right way. And sometimes you can be a little mean, a little angry. Um, and I had to learn how to deal with that. I talked to friends and family, and I would ask them, like, am I doing something wrong? I just want people to listen to what I'm saying. No one's understanding. And they were patient with me. So you have to kind of learn a patience um, within yourself, because once I had my one of my last exacerbations, um, and it was kind of a silent kind of situation, because I didn't know what was going on until the damage was already done. I Maybe about 2 years ago, and this is fast forwarding way after my diagnosis. I took a medication called O. Let's just put it as O. Um, and every medication, some medications are not for everybody. But with MS, I feel it's like a trial and error. And so I take this medication, and I noticed I had a lot more falls. Um, was a little disoriented sometimes, stumbling with my words. But the biggest thing was it kind of broke me down, really broke me down, um, to the point where it was hard to stand up. I needed help just even getting out the bed. So I went back to my doctor, and we looked at it, we did some tests, and he told me sometimes this medication can completely turn you around. Sometimes it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And I think that's with every medication. This medication kind of threw me for a loop. Um, and eventually, now, I use my wheelchair a lot more because one, it's faster. If I go out with friends and family, if I simply go to the supermarket, I won't find myself being as fatigued. I won't find myself being miserable, because it is miserable when you want to get to where you want to get and you're having issues. Um, but I kind of, I'm a little optimistic. I'm very optimistic. I always think about things like, goodness, it can always be worse. I could be bedbound. So I carry on. I carry myself with a certain kind of humor. I carry myself with a certain kind of attitude, if you want to put it like that, where I try to always have a smile on my face. It doesn't always happen the way that I would like it to happen. But with having multiple sclerosis, you have to know that there are some things that you cannot avoid. Um, I do know some people, or I've heard of some people that have MS. They have it for years, and they are going strong. They're walking up and down. Then I know some people that are completely blind, because MS does interfere with your muscles in your eyes, your nerves, and it can cause blurred vision. I deal with that. Sometimes, if I am like towards the end of the day and I'm very, very tired, or when I wake up in the morning and I haven't had, you're sleeping when you sit up, you're still sleeping. I deal with the blurriness, blurred vision, um, to the point where, I decided not to drive. So for 2 years, I did not have the will or the want to drive because, one, my feet, they're bad, my legs are bad, um, can't afford to have an accident. Now, certain times of the day, I have a little blurred vision, but it's not that bad because it comes and it goes. I have decided to I think about everything, but I have decided to be more proactive rather than reactive. I have decided to put myself in a position as sometimes the other person, because me driving could be very serious for another person. And what I might think of as, oh, I can be careful, I can do this, and maybe I just won't, drive all the time. I won't drive, early in the morning. I have learned to wait on it. You have to have patience. Because now, some years later, my vision has been tested so many different times. I'm in a place where I can start to drive. And that I'm going to actually, when I go back for my training, my instructor did tell me that they used to videotape the trainings. And I thought about it and I said it might be fun, it might be funny. I'm going to ask them maybe to videotape my trainings so that people know that it's always possible. There are always things that you can have as alternatives to drive, to feed yourself, to dress yourself. Some people can't open medical, the medicine bottles. There are always alternatives. There is always some kind of help that I think people as MS, people with a disease, should ask for. I know a lot of people, if they're West Indian like me, do not like to ask for help. You have a lot of pride, maybe. Me, I was just grown like that. I came from a family of strong women, worked, had babies, bought houses, and, you know, that I would like to think that's the stock that I come from. So everything is always possible. Everything is always possible. You don't have to subject yourself to knocking yourself down to ask for help. Because if you have friends and family that are your support systems, you have doctors that are listening, actively listening to you, you should never feel bad about saying what you need or what you want. I have always been blessed with wonderful doctors that I can talk to. Um, there are a couple of bad apples, but you weed them out, you let them go. But the doctors that I have had throughout my journey here with multiple sclerosis, they have always listened to me or listened to me and put me in a better position than I would have been, you know, um, before, a few years before, because everything doesn't happen right away with multiple sclerosis. Like I said in my first podcast, you can have an exacerbation and then your multiple sclerosis sometimes would not come back. Or you could have an exacerbation 1 year and then your multiple sclerosis would stay dormant for the next 3, 4 years. Now, that does not mean that, okay, the next time you have an exacerbation, that is going to be 100 times worse. It doesn't mean that you are going to be completely bedridden with the next one. No, it just means that it's dormant. You're not having any exacerbation. To me, life is good with knowing that. I don't think that anyone should have a problem with not having an exacerbation. Um, but let me move forward. Uh, so I am one of 4 children. I'm the oldest. My mom, she she went through this journey with me in the beginning. My mom is no longer with us. Lost my mom in 2015. Um, but she was always one of my top advocates. My mom felt everyone should have a mother like mine. She went with me to the doctors when I had to be hospitalized. Um, if they came back and told my mom, well, her iron is low, her this is low, My mom would be at home thinking of everything homeopathic or food wise. What should I drink? What should I eat to build my body back up? So my mom always did her part for me. She always she was always there. Um and my mom, we always went to the doctors together, and she always knew everything that I knew, and if she didn't understand, she would ask them to break it down for her. Which is totally fine because, like I say all the time, if you don't ask questions and you don't advocate for yourself, you'll be stuck. You'll get lost in translation because you'll never know what's going on. I'm like I said, I'm not a doctor. I can't read MRIs. I can't read those little chart things, but I ask. Um, at some time you get frustrated. Like I used to be frustrated because I had to take injections with my medicine. And every 3 to 4 months I had to take blood. And I didn't understand why. Um, and there is always some kind of conspiracy. And I'm not saying that my ears are completely closed to those. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I am just a person that I listen to everything. Some people believe that hospitals, doctors, um, with these diseases, that is an excuse for them to take your blood. Um, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel that moving away from, like, not thinking about that all the time is better for you. But simply, if you want to know what's going on, just ask. I had a doctor, one of my last neurologists, he retired. Um, he said, you are the only person that comes in here to ask questions. He said, it's like you pull out a notepad and you want to know everything. And yes, I do, because I'm the one living with multiple sclerosis. My family deals with it, you know, on a day to day basis. So I want to know the pros and the cons. And I think if you have a great doctor, a good doctor, a humane doctor, he or she would definitely want to help you. Some doctors just want to push medicine. But with multiple sclerosis, you can't, because if you don't have the encouragement or someone cheering you on to not want to stay in the wheelchair, to not want to help yourself, then I don't think that that's a good support system. Someone is like, when I was younger, I had a doctor tell me, oh, you have MS, you're going to fall down. Oh, you're going to have to use a wheelchair. That is not always necessarily the case. Um, you will be able, like, I have family members, friends, doctors, they always tell me if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So if you are diagnosed with multiple sclerosis or any disease, your best bet is to keep fighting, keep wanting to do more. Um, me personally, I don't sleep in a bed. I sleep in a recliner. One, because it is so much easier to stand up out of a recliner with the help of a button. Whereas when I would lay in bed, I could not sit up. And everyone knows that can be a problem if you're trying to rush to the bathroom in the middle of the morning. So I decided to sleep in a recliner, and it helps. It helps. If the recliner is big enough, I mean, I would have a, what is that bed? The electrical bed. A Tempur-Pedic, I would have that if it wasn't thousands of dollars just for the base. We're not talking about the mattress because, of course, you need the mattress, but the base of the whole thing easily $2,500, $3,000. That is the start. And you can go with alternates. You can go with the cheaper version, but then the cheaper version is exactly what it is, a cheaper version, and it does not work the way it is supposed to. Um, I'm trying to think of something that I know all people with multiple sclerosis deal with, and I can absolutely let you know if I go through it. Now, one of the things, like I said, it's blurred vision. Um, Another, sometimes brain fog. And I pride myself on remembering phone numbers and addresses and names. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Also, oh, bladder issues. Oh my gosh. I have to I have to pee every 5 minutes. Every 4 to 5 minutes I run to the bathroom. Um, and I used to think it's because I had an overactive bladder. I had something wrong with my bladder. Well, I did, but not the way that I thought. The same way MS affects your nerves and your muscles on the outside, it affects on the inside. And I just thought of it here a couple of months ago. I don't know why I didn't think of it because MS affects the nerves and the muscles in the eye. So why wouldn't it affect the muscles in the bladder? Which it does. Um, MS causes the bladder muscles to become as spastic as your your muscles on the outside, which throws your bladder into spasms. So it is something that, yeah, I'm 44 this year, I turned 44. These are not things that I thought I'd be dealing with. And we as people that understand what's going on with some of these illnesses, I have no problem sharing. Before, when I was about 18, maybe 19, I wouldn't even want to talk about it. I was in so much denial that it I was just unreasonable with myself. I I don't wear heels anymore. I can remember when I was about 18. I wanted to go to a party, and I was gonna wear some shoes that I bought. I had just bought them, um, and I was determined to wear these heels. And it was all okay until I had to stand up with them, until I had to use my muscles and my energy to stand up and to walk and to be in this party. Needless to say, through half of the party, like I said, I'm a fluffy girl. You're dancing with someone, and I could feel myself pushing, like leaning on the person, which was a problem for me. Um, and I stayed in denial. I would just have the shoes and on top of my dresser table after that I first wore them that one time, and I would just look at them. I would just look at them. I could remember they were sandals, high heel, maybe about a 2 or 3 inch block heel. They were red. I had gotten them, I think, from Macy's or something. But I had red sandals. I had the red leather jacket, and a nice little bag, clutch bag to go with it. And I just kind of looked at the shoes for. It took me maybe 4 or 5 months. I looked at these shoes, um, for me to come to the realization that, well, maybe it's over. I can't. I'm not going to push myself to wear shoes that I know I can end up flat on my face. Um, Alternatives, instead of a heel, of like a stacked heel, I try to wear more of a wedge, and that helped for a while until, excuse me, until I couldn't walk in those either. I did parties. I did parties. Oh, excuse me 1 second. Oh wow! Thank you for the encouragement, guys. I'm gonna tell you, even now, as I'm sitting here in front of this camera, this phone, um, I don't want anyone to be upset if I don't answer you right away because it flashes up on the screen. And as close as I am and far away, whatever I do, I cannot see those little letters. So I just want you guys to know that I will read them after and get back to you. So don't hold it against me. um, but yeah, it's now that I have moved forward in my life with this multiple sclerosis for so many years. There are things that I choose to do, and there are things that I choose not to do. Um, my family, they're always encouraging. Like I said, I have friends always encouraging. I don't put myself in a situation where someone with me has to do most of the work for me. Um, right now, and maybe 2 years ago, my brother would help me and his family. We lived together for 2 years, and but people grow up and they want to do their own thing, which is much understandable. That is, i.e., one of the reasons I wouldn't get married, because to deal with MS is a lot. For me, it's a lot, but I keep going because I know the type of person that I am and where I come from. Um, I mean, multiple sclerosis can be, multiple sclerosis can be heart wrenching for some, even some that are friends and family. Um, Moving forward, I have friends and family that take my multiple sclerosis just as hard as I do. I've seen it and I talk about it all the time. I tell my friends, because I live in Pennsylvania, all my friends mainly are in New York. Do have friends that would like to come and see me, spend time with me, go out. But I have to forewarn them that I am not the 19, 20, 21, 20, even the 25-year-old Keisha that everybody knows. I don't think my mindset has changed any. My smile hasn't changed any, but it's my overall. It's a whole different story. Um, and when I say it's a whole different story, I am in a wheelchair, even though it's not a solid in the wheelchair. Like I can still fumble around. I get up, I push myself. Excuse me, I do therapy. Like I said, I am learning how to drive with the accessories that they give you for your hands. And but it is it can be just as heart-wrenching for someone else that is used to seeing you and being with you and going out and talking and walking, and it's hard for a lot of people to deal with. So for a long time I just decided to stay to myself, um, because I do not want anyone fumbling. Do you need help? What can I do? What can I do? Now, I have some family members that I like that kind of treatment, but it's not always necessary. And sometimes, um, I'm the youngest of a lot of people. Um, and if I could get away with it, I would, but it's not necessary. Um, the only real problem I have is my friends and family that they don't always understand. Um, some people think it's something that'll go away, and MS doesn't go away. It can stop and be exactly what it is, or it can become aggressive and take you into a whole different situation. Um, but, uh, I'm here. I'm alive. I wake up every day. I thank God for the blessings that He gives me. And I work it out with every situation. My daughter is going to high school, um, and what I think about is what I'm gonna do for her. Okay, everyone. My time is coming to an end with you guys, and I'm hoping that you can join me again at Kubi TV on YouTube next Sunday, same time, 4 p.m. Peace and blessings to everyone. And I will be looking forward to seeing you then again. Again, I will take a look at those questions that you guys had for me. Stay blessed, and everyone have a good day.